Hello,
and welcome.
if you found this video, I'm guessing you're a lot like us.
Quote-unquote adults.
With way too many games in your back catalog, and the man taking up way too many of your hours.
Meaning you'll never complete those games.
When zoning out for the night, we love watching trophy hunters and speedrunners blitzing through games and finishing everything with enough time to spare for refunds.
Well, we're neither talented enough
Nor have enough time to do that, so instead, we're bucking the trends of these new overpriced and overbloated games by going back and finishing the games we already started.
at our pace.
That means we're using old saves,
New and old glitches.
and trying not to drive each other crazy as we go back to Plat.
Oh boy, what an absolute masterpiece of a trilogy. While the idea of this series is to go back and complete the games that we already own, alongside giving some sort of mini explanation or a review, this series not only holds my favorite game of all time, it's one that I would go back to and complete on my own without any other motivation needed. This was peak BioWare, and I believe it still stands on the Mount Rushmore of RPGs. This game was absolutely revolutionary to me and my young mind when it first came out. It perfectly balanced all the aspects that make a great RPG. Think about the story, team building, stat progression, unique abilities, and an easy to understand upgrade tree. It had all of this while also mastering conversations and relationships throughout a galaxy that didn't even need to be half as flushed out as this was. I won't lie, there are definitely some aspects about this first entry into the trilogy that are rough. For example, the shooting and abilities are okay, and are more than passable even today, but they can be a drag to play with, especially if you're exploring everything that this game has to offer. Exploration too can be especially brutal with the Mako. This seemed like a fun idea to have an open space and an ideally endless spacescape, but the tedium and monotony will very quickly see you droning away on some of these planets. Thankfully, these complaints are mostly addressed in the sequels. However, if you can work with all that, there's so much expertly written story, glimpses of what's to come, a soundtrack that will literally make you feel like a hero, and characters with backstories that are so deep and are mostly paid off extremely well in later games, the likes of which have not been even closely matched until the modern masterpiece that is Baldur's Gate 3. And this solidifies my argument that EA and BioWare should approach Larian, give them full creative control, and let them make the next trilogy. Just saying. Make it happen. First things first though, you may realize that this video looks a little bit different than the others. I recorded and played this solo off stream. We are playing Overcooked at the same time though, and I primarily played this before bedtime for a few hours a night, and I knew that it was going to be a while. So this video will be laid out a bit different than our others, but I will be streaming the sequels over on Twitch, so go follow us there if you want to see the live playthroughs. Kicking things off, the character creator for this one is a bit odd. I really can't put my finger on it, but no matter how much I try, there's something always off with my characters. While most of this doesn't matter too much, you do want to choose the engineer class, as one of the ability trophies relies on a move that is specific to this class. Additionally, the Legendary Edition has its own set of trophies, so you want to make sure that you select the Insanity difficulty, unless you want to play a second run, which I didn't. After all this is selected, we get the epic intro into the series.
Humanity needs a hero, and Shepard's the best we've got.
I'll make the call.
Like I said earlier, there's something about the music, the short but informative bits of text that the game gives you, and the confidence to just throw you into it, right into the middle of everything, that just works out so well. So we quickly find out that the mission we're on is anything but routine, and is instead a qualification run for our admission into the Spectres. The Spectres are kind of like an elite group of skilled informants whose main mission is intergalactic peace and stability.
Don't worry, I've got it under control.
Well, mostly. This is super important as we learn that we were to become the first human Spectre. Nihilus, a Turian Spectre, takes lead on this mission, and we find out that this human colony has been attacked by some sort of weird-looking ship. Now, the rest of Eden Prime is extremely involved and shows almost everything that you'll be doing for the rest of the game, including recruiting characters, combat with alien life forms, using your powers, which also earned us our first trophy of the run, and chasing down Saren, a rogue Spectre in pursuit of the knowledge found within a Prothean beacon. Knowledge that he is very clearly willing to kill for. The Protheans were a race that were exterminated from existence some time ago, and initially, Shepard obtains only unclear visions of the message that the beacon has. The beacon is sort of like a collection of knowledge that kind of bursts into the user's mind all at once, which can destroy the user's mind. And this angers Saren and gives us our second trophy of the run for completing Eden Prime, and brings us to a debrief in the ship where we're able to converse with our crewmates and then travel anywhere in the galaxy. And that's it. That's the gameplay loop. Now, technically you can beat the game with only completing a handful of missions after this tutorial world. However, for the Plat, we're going to be doing a decent amount of exploring. For now though, we explore the Citadel. This area is super important and has one of the few missable trophies in the run. Throughout the Citadel, you'll be able to interact with a huge number of alien species. Asking them about themselves will fill out most of the entries in the Codex, and we need to make sure that we learn about a pretty big list of them. There's also a conversation on the ship prior to landing on Eden Prime that you need to have with Anderson. Typically, you can exhaust all the dialogue options and you'll be good, and I ended up completing all but one without checking my Codex, which you can do at any point in the game also. Anyways, the story continues with our human ambassador approaching the Council, a select group of individuals from various races meant to make decisions on the safety of the galaxy. We accuse Saren of being evil, and I mean, look at him, the guy is clearly evil. They tell us though that we need evidence. So we slump around the unfavorable areas of the Citadel in order to meet with Tali, a Quarian who has obtained information from the synthetic AI life forms known as Geth. This information proves that Saren has indeed gone rogue and is searching for something called the Conduit, and is working with some party known as the Reapers. Reading back, I can see how this game may seem confusing at a distance, but I promise you that the game does an impeccable job of introducing you to the important part of races one at a time, and offers enough information through dialogue for you to understand the intricacies as much or as little as you want to. You can even go back and read the Codex for additional information that you may have missed. I'm literally condensing nearly 4 hours of gameplay in less than 2 minutes here. Anyways, with the evidence present, and the fear of Saren's head start, alongside the work that humanity, and Shepard specifically, have put in, the Council makes the decision to appoint us as the first human Spectre. Now, I'm not going to play out a ton of scenes, but this was one of the scenes that does it all right. The importance of our mission is here. The hard work that we've put in, the soundtrack, the gravity of what to come, it's all perfect.
Commander Shepard, step forward. It is the decision of the Council that you be granted all the powers and privileges of the Special Tactics and Reconnaissance branch of the Citadel.
Spectres are not trained, but chosen. Individuals forged in the fire of service and battle. Those whose actions elevate them above the rank and file.
Spectres are an ideal, a symbol, the embodiment of courage, determination, and self-reliance. They are the right hand of the Council, instruments of our will.
Spectres bear a great burden. They are protectors of galactic peace, both our first and last line of defense. The safety of the galaxy is theirs to uphold.
You are the first human Spectre, Commander. This is a great accomplishment for you and your entire species.
Also, another trophy.
Anderson, come with me. I'll need your help to set all this up.
With that, the Council gives us a few suggestions of where to start, and we're off. Now, the galaxy is completely open to us, and we'll pick up missions as quickly as Skyrim players, and we do need to complete a good chunk of them for the trophy. But this is good, because while completing them, we're going to knock out a whole bunch of tedious trophies. I'm going to go over all the tedious trophies now so that we can save from splattering them all throughout this video because they happen so sporadically. So first we're going to need to use a specific power a certain number of times for 11 of the trophies. We're going to use Medigel 50 times for another, which came way too early in the run, and we'll explain more on this later. We need to land on Uncharted Worlds 1, 4, and 8 times. And complete 5 missions with each crewmate.
I reminded.
It does not bring it. So how about if I kill Chairman?
Happy to. Now. My name is Shepard. I'm a Spectre.
Alright, so now that my trophy tracker is going to be messed up for the rest of the video, maybe you won't notice that I went the whole second day with my keyboard not functioning at all. Maybe. Regardless, with the tutorial, the Citadel, and those tedium trophies filed away, we have 24 of the 34 trophies that we need in order to grab that Plat. And thankfully, most of the remaining trophies are mission-based. Like I said earlier, the main missions in this game are still pretty great, and if that's all you focus on, you could still complete this game in about 15 to 30 hours, somewhere in that range. And they're also quite diverse. I'll cover this more when we get to my favorite mission, but one of the recommendations early on is to find Liara, so that's where we head first. Dr. Tassoni has found herself in quite the pickle, trapped in a collapsed ruin with a bounty on her head being carried out by a badass Krogan. Thankfully, this mission is pretty straightforward. It's a straight shot in the Mako to the ruin, the boss is actually quite simple comparatively, and you can easily scoop up Liara in an hour or so. This also brings us to one of the unique aspects of the trilogy. As I mentioned earlier, each main mission ends with a debrief, and now that we have Liara, she will usually try and link up with us and try to make sense of the beacon's meanings. Afterwards, we can meet with the council, and then we can meet up with each member of the Normandy. Relationships, results, and outcomes of missions are all carried across saves to later games, meaning the relationships you make in this game actually matter later on. Now, I'm not going to go into each interaction, and they are nowhere near as important as they are in later games, but the seeds are definitely planted here. The difference between having a more serious relationship with a partner and them simply staying friends can come down to how much you talk to them and if you agree with what they're saying. It's pretty awesome just how well this is implemented for how simple it is. This is also where we get the precursor to our loyalty missions. It's small in this game, but Garrus will give you a mission to hunt down a criminal doctor and wants to come along with you for this mission.
He changed ships and changed his name to Dr. Hart, his idea of a joke, I guess. I told the military, but they weren't convinced it was him. I got the transponder frequency for his new ship, but I just can't get anyone to check it out.
I'll check out the coordinates when I get a chance.
I was hoping you'd say that, but Commander, take me with you when you go.
It's early on and it's hard to tell if this was the plan all along, but this ends up becoming almost the entire premise for the second game.
And so he dies anyway. What was the point of that?
You can't predict how people will act, Garrus, but you can control how you'll respond. In the end, that's what really matters.
Yeah. I don't think I ever met anyone like you, Commander. Well, I guess we're done here.
Speaking of good ideas that carried over, the next trophy we earn is from the previously DLC only mission, Bring Down the Sky. I actually hate this mission, but the endgame sees Shepard having to make a choice between actually capturing the bad guy or saving hostages. It's lasting decisions like this that make the endgame and the sequels so much more impactful. Other small examples are Elenos Heliot, I think I said that right, a Turian who claims that he led the attack on Elysium, hearkening to your background as a war hero, or your missions that help flush out the human extremist group Cerberus, who become absolutely huge plot-wise in the upcoming narrative, but they're so small and subtle and completely missable in this game. So while we're gushing, let's look at my favorite mission of the game. Now, I would really classify the next 4 missions as the big 4, as they all do similar things. I just like this one the most. So Noveria and Pharaoh show up first, with Vermeer and Iolos unlocking afterwards. Noveria is where I went first, and I love this world. As I mentioned earlier, each main mission has a bit of all the components of the game, aside from you not being able to ride in the Mako in the tutorial mission. Story-wise, we go to Noveria to hunt down Matriarch Benezia, as we believe she is working with Saren. Immediately, you find yourself locked out of progressing due to politics and corruption. Damn, haven't heard of that one before. So you can go one of two ways from here, both sort of crossing at times, and that's guns blazing or talking your way out of situations. We end up obtaining a key card and having the Turian who gave us theirs flip on the corrupt leader of the main lodging area.
This is an outrage. I'll see that you never work in this sector again.
Yeah, get a move on.
You, Shepard! I demand you place this bitch under arrest!
You have the right to remain silent. I wish to God you'd exercise it.
We clear out the parking garage and find out Benezia has smuggled Geth onto the planet. Wonder how she was able to do that. The Mako section is what it is. If you really aren't fully exploring, it's kind of paced perfectly right in the middle of this mission to break up any monotony. Once we hit the research lab, we find it in lockdown. Talking or blasting our way further, we find Benezia, who will offer unique dialogue options if you bring Liara, who's her daughter.
You do not know the privilege of being a mother. There is power in creation. To shape a life, turn it toward happiness or despair. Her children were to be ours, raised to hunt and slay Saren's enemies. I won't be moved by sympathy, no matter who you bring into this confrontation.
Liara's here because she wants to be, not because I asked her to.
Once she goes down, she tells us how Sovereign, Saren's ship, is unique and hints at the idea that Saren's indoctrinating abilities are linked to it. She says that she came here to find the Rachni Queen and use it to gather information on the Mu Relay, which the Rachni discovered the location of in their colonization process. We are given the option to free or kill the Rachni Queen, impacting our Paragon or Renegade scores respectively, and we'll touch more on this in a second, but I freed her, escaped the lab, and grabbed the next main mission trophy.
You will give us the chance to compose anew?
Now the next 3 missions play out in a similar fashion, with you having to solve some issue when you first arrive in the world, and then before advancing, typically in the Mako, to the next section. Since they all play out pretty similarly, I'll be super brief in the descriptions for each main mission going forward, but I do want to take a second to comment on the Insanity difficulty and how it impacted this playthrough for me, and playthroughs moving forward. This game can be pretty tedious to 100% regardless of the difficulty, and Insanity just makes all the enemies bullet sponges. All the enemies rush at you and you die in 1 to 2 hits. It's pretty crazy. The combat usually devolves just into me sniping from an angle where the enemy couldn't actually hit me, or blasting them on the ground non-stop. It's also one of the changes that I made when I moved on to Mass Effect 2, as the Legendary Edition trophies don't actually have a platinum within them, so I dropped the difficulty moving forward, and I wish I had done it halfway through this game. And it's a shame really, because each world has these unique objects to discover, like this one Prothean sphere that tells you how the humans have been being watched by some alien life form since they were Neanderthals. I mean, Mulder and Scully would go crazy, well, mostly Mulder. I was just so burnt out from dying and loading and dying and loading and dying and loading that I ended up rushing through so much of the optional content that's available in this game. For another trophy, we need to gain majority of the aforementioned Paragon or Renegade points, and on that same planet that we found the Prothean sphere on, you can complete the little mini mission that's on this planet, and then save the second you get the Paragon points for it, reload and keep interacting with the little monkey to max out your Paragon points. And you'll see here, I only needed like 70, so that's what I grabbed. Alrighty, so next up is Pharos and the colony of Zoo's Hope. The creature here, the Thorian.
Alright, we just need to find this creature and determine what it... That is disturbing.
Saren wants it for its mind-controlling powers, and in order to help it decipher the location of the Conduit, which we also take advantage of after freeing the colonists.
It's because of you, Shepard. I can't thank you enough.
Vermeer is also pretty awesome, and offers us the opportunity to earn another trophy, this one for resolving an impossible situation through dialogue. For context here, Saren is developing a cure for the genophage, a disease that is killing off the Krogan, and we can convince Rex to stay with us instead of trying to shoot us.
I can't let you jeopardize the mission.
So that's it. All this time, and that's all I get from you. How can you not see what this means to the Krogan? This base can't be destroyed. I won't allow it.
These Krogan are slaves of Saren. Puppets. Tools to be used and discarded. Is that what you want for your people?
No.
We help hold the line and find out that Sovereign is actually a part of a race of creatures that wipe out the entire galaxy once they develop to a certain point, and that they've done this for countless cycles. This plot within a plot is awesome and is what makes this game what it is, and this entire series. It helps propel the narrative for 2 more games and fits the whole science fiction alien future so well. So with that info in hand, we confront Saren. We tell his punk ass that he's just an indoctrinated puppet. We die 10 times because insanity difficulty still sucks, and we reap the consequences of our actions as Caden had to stay on the planet in order to help the explosion go off and died. Returning to the Citadel after this mission puts us in lockdown, as the Council doesn't believe the threat that the Reapers pose, and instead they want to hunker down and defend the Citadel against an attack from Saren and the Geth. Now, just a side note here, you do have to complete an unspecified amount of the game, including side quests, for a trophy, and the Citadel missions become locked off after you escape the Citadel. But luckily, I had done enough at this point that the first person I spoke to actually unlocked the trophy for me.
You have the right to your opinion.
I understand. Thank you for your time, Commander.
So escaping the Citadel with some help from Anderson.
Anderson? What are you doing here? I didn't send...
We rush to Ilos and after Saren. Once there, we met a VI that explains how the Protheans secretly created a means to stop the Reapers and hid it away with the hopes that someone like us would show up. They found a way to stop the signal that the Keepers send to the Reapers, forcing Sovereign to enter the Citadel to send the signal to the rest of the Reapers, meaning Saren needs to succeed in using the Conduit, which is a backdoor straight into the Citadel. And this also means that our only chance to survive in this cycle is to get there first and stop Saren. So a little editor's note here. I just wanted to throw in too how awesome the design is for Sovereign. I remembered it when I was going back and editing this scene because it has a very Cthulhu/H.P. Lovecraft feel to it, where it's almost like you don't know what he is, and with the rest of the Reapers hibernating in deep space, you don't even know if they're different, if they look different. It's like the fear of the unknown coming through, and I think that this game, for as bright and colorful and beautiful as it is, it does a really good job of bringing in that unknown into your gameplay, into the story. It's really awesome. So we race there, we complete Ilos, and defeat Saren, while also saving the Council. The combined forces of the Citadel end up destroying Sovereign, and we emerge not only alive, but most importantly, with the Plat.
Ambassador, Captain, Commander Shepard, we have gathered here to recognize the enormous contributions of the Alliance forces in...
So I always feel so biased when I'm playing or discussing these games, as I truly feel that there isn't a trilogy in gaming that comes even close to this series. The storytelling, the nearly infinite conversations that you can have, the choices that you need to make that carry over game to game to game, the soundtrack that plays while you're in combat or while you're in these really pivotal cutscenes, the entire narrative itself just works so well together. It's amazing looking at games now and seeing how often that they fall short of even being complete. And then there's this series that is constantly on sale for like $5 or less. If you're seeing this and it's your first Mass Effect exposure, please go play that trilogy right now, because the second and third games only get better. Now, if I'm allowed to be biased, I think that every single game in this series easily deserves an 11 out of 10. And if I have to be super critical, I still don't see any way that you score this game under an 8.5. Some of the Mako missions driving around planet to planet can definitely be tedious, but they're optional, and they're optional in a way that they don't actually count against you in future games. With all that being said, in roughly 37 hours, I earned 34 trophies, saving the known galaxy, for now, and grab the Platinum in Mass Effect 1. If you like this video, please leave a like, and possibly a comment down below. And if you would consider subscribing, it would mean the world to me. Thank you so much, be safe, and we'll see you in the next one.